story. I have a story I wanted to tell you guys recently that had happened to me. So recently I planned on going over to my friend Tori's house. Like the two of us were going to hang out for the day. And Tori is really amazing at making quilts. It's something that she loves to do, and she makes it in her spare time. It's like a little hobby. And I really wanted to make like a t-shirt quilt, you know, out of like old t-shirts, and she was gonna teach me how. So I decided I was gonna go over and she was gonna help me make this quilt and teach me how to just quilt in general. So I decided I'm gonna go over there to Tori's house. But she lives all the way in Westerville, so I decided I was gonna ask my friend Devin. She's a little crazy. And we grew up together, and we were always doing crazy stuff. Like, it was so much fun. However, Devin was known for knocking people's teeth out, which is lots of funny story. Anyway, we're moving on. I asked her if she wanted to come with me and learn how to make a quilt. Unfortunately, she said she couldn't. She wanted to, but she couldn't, because she was gonna hang out with her brother. And what a crazy thing about Devin and her brother is that they have the same birthday, which is November 9th, so they always celebrated their birthday together growing up. But they were really mischievous back then. Now they get along a lot better. But unfortunately, she told me she couldn't come. She'd love to, but couldn't come, so I just said I'd go alone. I'd go by myself. So when I got into my car going over to Tori's, I noticed it was making a funny sound, and when I would hit my brakes, it would kind of shake a little bit. And all of a sudden, I like hit my brake, and it wasn't stopping very well. And my car is fairly new. It's a Honda Civic, or a Honda Accord. But it's recent. It's kind of new, so I didn't think there would be really anything wrong with it. But since I was driving west, I figured I would just ignore it and drive all the way to Tori's house, and we would just go on about my business. But the noise kept progressing and getting louder and louder, so I would turn the radio up and just ignore the noise. But it was getting worse and worse. I would turn my radio up so I couldn't hear it because the noise seemed to be getting worse. And then all of a sudden, my brakes went out, and I did not know what to do. So I couldn't stop, so I pulled over and I decided to call my friend Tori Reed, and I asked if she minded if she would come with me to the first Tori's house. Now Tori, we were really good friends in college, and we both had suffered from an eating disorder, which is how we became super close in college, and that we went through that and progressed past that and together. So that's why I felt I would feel more safe if she was able to come with me. So I called her, but she unfortunately she was busy, and I couldn't get a hold of her. And I had asked her, no, I did get a hold of her, and I asked her how she was out of town, and I asked her how she was doing with her eating disorder, which she called ED. And she said that they were no longer in a relationship. So it was fine. I just figured I would go along to the original Tori's house to help me make a quilt by myself. So I finished the call with Tori, and I got back in the car, and I cranked up the music as loud as possible. I figured I wasn't going to hear the sound. And then all of a sudden, what came on the radio was Johnny Cash. and he is my favorite artist. The best. I love Johnny Cash. When Johnny Cash died, I was heartbroken, so upset for days. It was like when people were upset about Elvis Presley. Like Johnny Cash was my Elvis Presley. It was so sad when he passed away. He grew up super poor, and it was amazing to see that he put in this hard work and became this amazing artist. So he is definitely one of my favorite artists. So I continued driving, and all of a sudden, I didn't have any more brakes. I couldn't stop, and I was like, oh, I thought I could call AAA, but I had just canceled my AAA, so I didn't know who else to call. Figured, whatever, I'm gonna call my friend that can work on cars. So I decided to call them, and Emmett, that's his name. I decided to call Emmett. He works on cars, and I knew he was super busy, and this was last minute, but I need your help to fix my brakes. They went out, and please can you fix my brakes? I know that the dealer is ridiculously expensive, and could you please help me with my brakes? It was maybe about 10 minutes away from me, so I figured I would drive really close, and I was lucky that he was home. So I told him, it'd be about a 10-minute drive, and I was over there. So I wanted to call my friend Tori and told him that she probably couldn't teach me how to make the quilt today, which sucked, but I really had to get my brakes fixed. So he looked at the rotor, Emmett looked at the rotor, the caliper, and he was able to fix all of that himself. And he bought it for me and was able to fix it, and he told me I needed new brake pads for my car. It was so that it could drive, and he told me I needed to pump the brakes for about 25 to 75 times, so that it would take 25 minutes or so to work on them. And I needed to get a new rotor and a new caliper, and I told him whatever he bought, I would just give him the money, and it would be maybe $200, which is better than the $900 that the dealer would cost. So it was $150. It really wasn't that bad. So Emmett went over and bought the parts that he needed, and so I was sitting around for a while and was kind of bored. So Emmett has this huge yard in the back of his house, and so I decided to walk around and just kind of relax a little bit. And it was pretty cool. I ended up seeing lots of wildflowers that you can eat, and it was really cool. I saw I started picking little plants and things like that, and since I know a friend of mine had taught me how to identify plants that are poisonous versus not poisonous, and they're just completely free. They're foods that you can eat, and there was one that's to know how to identify these little wild foods out in the yard, and I saw it. I saw wild spinach and this other little plant. It's called wood sorrel.